Hello, this is Wasey with the Texas Small Business Podcast, where we interview business owners about themselves and their businesses. Last week we had Chad Haley, the epitome of a guy that knows a guy. This week we're giving you a little bit different taste, and we're giving you Taylor, who is the girl to know when you need to make make things right with your girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever. Or if you've found yourself in that spot where you're having a wedding, she can help ease her stress by having beautiful flowers at the wedding. So welcome Taylor Pina of PinaTaylotta Petals. I always struggle saying that.
Everybody does. People ask me, why don't you choose an easier name than PinaTaylotta Petals? And I say, can you say Ferrero Rocher? Like, have you ever heard of Ghirardelli chocolates? Like, I'm a luxury product, so I have a luxury name.
I like that. That's a good reason. I really like the combination of turning the last name into the first of it too. That makes it a little bit interesting. But I guess tell us about your business and all of that, and then we'll delve. Um, I don't really have plans for these conversations most of the time. We just kind of see where it goes. So let's just start out with your business and what you do.
Well, I own a luxury flower shop here in Bluffdale, Texas, that I just actually transitioned from a retail location to just a luxury studio, so people could still come into the studio and talk about flowers and order flowers, but it no longer serves as a retail space. But what we do is we do daily deliveries to Erath and Hood counties, so we go both ways. And then on major holidays like Valentine's Day, Christmas, Mother's Day, we go all the way out to Dallas for deliveries. And then we specialize in major events like weddings, styled shoots, galas, stuff like that. So we basically like to do major events, but all the flowers that I carry are luxury florals, things that you can't get at like HEB or Kroger or Aldi or anything like that. Because I believe if you're paying for a florist, like then you should be paying for flowers that you can't get at the grocery store. So I like to carry cool, unique flowers.
You do get some interesting flowers. I was really surprised, I guess, when I think of flower shops, like everyone just pictures like the regular flowers that everyone knows, and everyone's got their picture in mind of a flower shop. And your flower shop was really, when it was a retail thing, was really different because you had the knickknacks and the turquoise and all of these things that kind of gave it a atmosphere. And then the flowers were all flowers that I'd never heard of and seen. I mean, for those of you that don't know me, I'm not a really um, into having a lot of really fancy stuff, but she has some fancy flowers for sure. And I've always found that interesting. How did you come across like the your source, I guess, where you get your flowers and stuff? How did you pick up on the different types of flowers and move from like your general flower space to that?
Well, I got super lucky. I'll give you some like history about how I became a florist. I got super lucky in being able to learn from two of the best of different realms of floral design, I guess. So whenever I first became a florist, I worked at a luxury flower shop boutique in Dallas in Bishop Arts. And this flower shop was very cool, eclectic, like witchy almost, vintage. And so all the flowers that we did there were um, like ostrich feathers and dark and moody and big and cool and airy and sent to like Dallas socialites and stuff like that. And so the retailers that we worked with there that sold like that we bought our flowers from are part of a thing called HOLEX, which is the Holland International Market for Florals. So there's a market worldwide where most of the flowers that are cool and unique and big and full of life, they come from different environments like Holland where they grow better, and you could buy them from Holland or Ecuador or wherever you're buying them from, and they will ship them next day or same day on a flight to you in the United States. And so I get like the biggest, best, coolest blooms because they're growing in the environment that like best helps them grow. You know, like Texas, it's kind of hard to grow certain things. Um, so I'll like locally source things like sunflowers and celosia from our local farm. But for like the big, cool flowers, I usually fly them in for Holland.
That's awesome. You actually had you've had several interesting jobs, I guess, but I thought one of your cooler stories for um, like the luxury item things is you did jackets. You said you did a jacket for
Oh yeah, Dirk Nowitzki.
Jordan. I was like, that is
Yeah.
an awesome thing to have on your resume. But I find it really interesting. You drift between. I mean, you're kind of all over the place. You've done a lot of cool things. You were in the military. You grew up doing some singing, and then you kind of write and review music and do all of these different things. And I, as you get started in your business, were you really set on, hey, this is my main thing, or were you kind of just knowing that you're going to do one of these things?
Well, I will say the love of my life is writing, but my husband pays the bills, and that would be floral design. So, being a designer, like having a flower shop, is what uh, keeps me afloat every day, and it's a very rewarding job. Like, very rarely are people mad at receiving flowers or how I made their flowers or anything like that. It's usually a very, like, joyous, happy job. It's very fulfilling. And it's a luxury item, so, like, the pricing, I actually price myself pretty low compared to most people, but it keeps me afloat. But I always knew I was going to be a writer, and I'll never stop being a writer, but that rarely ever repays. So I have lots of cool jobs that, like in the creative area, I guess, arena. But um, I knew the first time I like ever put flowers together, I knew that was what I wanted to do for a job. But I knew I would never be able to put writing away. And then recently, I just married the two together. And I have, like you said, I review music. I've been reviewing music for almost 11 years now with different publications. But I launched my own under the PinaTaylotta Petals umbrella, so it's called Petals. And so you could see them both on the website, where you could see like my floral design, our gallery, whatnot, and then you could go to the Petals section of the website and see all of my music reviews, festival reviews, whatnot. But kind of same brand, same color scheme, same like umbrella. But one day I'd like to have a cool little show where I like to make a big, huge floral design and I have like an acoustic mini set, kind of like NPR Tiny Desk Series. That's what I'd like to do. To marry the two like officially.
That would be interesting. I can't say that I know what the NKR Death Series or whatever is, but it's an interesting idea. So you're really big on social media and stuff. How else have you dove into marketing, or what? Did you have a lot of business background when you got into it, or are you just kind of learning on the go as you go?
Well, kind of both. So, whenever I first started using social media like full time, I guess, I was in the Western fashion scene, I guess, in like 2015, 16, and Instagram was barely starting to like roll out monetizations and whatnot. And so it was kind of trial by fire, but I learned very quickly that if you're consistent, your growth is like steady moving forward. And usually with consistency, the people that are following you or like your stuff are people who are going to stay because you're so consistent that they feel like they already have a relationship with you or they know you. But I did do like marketing classes. Mostly all the marketing that I know is like for the music industry. So how to best sell yourself as a musician. But I feel like that works for any kind of business as well because you are still selling you and your business. Like, what's the personality of your business? That's what people want to know. And I think that's something that social media is used for that a lot of business owners haven't like really grasped their head around yet. Is that yeah, you have a cool product, right? That's like, say, we're selling your AC business, right? You have a cool product, but if you just posted like pictures of ACs every day, nobody would care. You have to show them the person behind the ACs. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
this is me, and this is what I'm doing. Um, so really, I think social media is just a window for people to see the real life people behind businesses, and I think that's what people like fail to comprehend because they want to stay professional. But if you look at things like TikTok, you know, businesses like lawyers and stuff will start having their Gen Z interns come and record them like being annoying around the office, and that's how they end up booking clients instead of being like, "Here's my resume and my portfolio," you know?
Yeah, I really that was sort of why I pushed into this particular podcast idea. I'm also doing one on AC, but it's more of an informational one. But this idea was really I got into the business networking stuff last spring, and and I learned quickly that allowing people to know you uh, seems to do as much to kind of get them to refer you and tell people about you as them knowing your business. So I really like that. But being out here in Bluffdale, there's not as much of that stuff going on as there is like the Metroplex and bigger areas. So I was wanting to hit a place to where I could get to know other business owners and viewers could get to know them and get to know me at the same time and kind of let personality, like you said, personalities of the business kind of show through, um, and uh, and I'm hoping it'll kind of reach out and point more people towards that because there is a large portion of people that don't see the value in social media or don't feel like they need to push that way to grow. And the more people are in their homes and the more people just don't interact in person as much, I think it's really important. I had a long conversation with a guy in Georgia last night. They're designing a system that I guess I know some stuff about, and they had gotten my number from somebody that I did designs for. And so I talked to him about that, and then we delved into business. And his business is roughly 6 times the size of mine, but it's been around 30 years. And he said recently they've been seeing a decline in new customers and stuff. And I kind of asked him about the social media stuff. Uh, I had I had pointed him towards the podcast earlier for some answers to some questions that he had, and he goes, we don't really do much of that stuff. He goes, we've been here forever. Everyone knows us, and this and that. And I was like, well, that might be why your new
Yeah.
customers are declining. And he was, and granted, he's been in business a long time, and he is a lot larger than I am, and he's been really successful. It sounds like, but his attitude towards not being willing to approach any of that stuff, I thought was very off. And then, like I said, I see businesses like you that you don't really advertise any other way. You get
Yeah.
your social media out
Absolutely.
there, and you're out present at events and stuff. I mean, you hit the music festivals and that type of stuff, but your social media presence is constant, and that's it's. So I've just always found that to be interesting. I've tried to work myself towards that, but
It's
I haven't
hard.
figured out the social media.
It's hard, and
I-
it's like even now for me, I actually hate social media because I feel like it like sucks your life away. But it's a seriously necessary evil for your business, uh, and I'm good at it. I just don't like to do it because I feel like it takes away time out of my day. But like lately, since I transitioned from a retail location to the studio, I have not been consistent or posting a lot on the Petals Instagram that much, and it has definitely made a difference. It has made a huge difference in the way people message me, or how many, like, I monitor my clicks on my website every day. It has changed how many clicks on the website I get a day, how many people are surfing my flowers, things like that. And so I have physically seen a, like, cause and effect to not using social media for my business. So I know that and then that's also like my personal social media outside of my business. If I don't post on that either, I still see the same things on my professional business page, because people like buy flowers from me because it's me.
Yeah.
You know? So I've used them both to better my business sales, but it is a lot of work, and people don't realize that. But my biggest nugget of advice for anybody who's like never has time to make content, or it's too much, is just schedule a content day where you have like schedule 5 hours to do content, and you make like 10 videos of whatever. Change it up, do whatever you need to do, but make like 10 videos in one day, and over the course of, I don't know how long you want to space that out of, but you'll have 10 different pieces of content instead of doing one thing every day, and it's like taking time out of your day, so you will have to like stop focusing on something.
And for those of you wondering, yes, she will do full style changeouts, full clothing changeouts to do multiple videos and change backgrounds, and
yes,
over the last couple of years, I guess, just our businesses being in Bluffdale, I'll stop in to the store and hang out and kind of unload from the office when I need a break, and I've gotten to see some of the background stuff, and that's, you will go all out changing backgrounds and clothes, and it's really been interesting to watch. I'm actually I haven't had a secretary for a while. I was restructuring some of the labor at work, and as well as the system behind it, and was waiting for that to catch up. But I'm at the point where I've been looking for one here lately, and what I've been focusing on, as much as there's the dispatching and taking calls and all of this paperwork that secretaries normally do, I've been focusing on younger candidates. And the first thing I do is go check their social media and see if they're active, because that's when I do hire someone, there's going to be a block of hours every day to where they update the Facebook pages and the Instagram pages and the podcast pages and all of this stuff, because it takes a lot of time. Right now, I take my Saturdays have become my social media day. I record the podcasts, I upload them, I go through and do posts or schedule posts through. I have a Real Work Labs is what it's called, and for those of you in the construction atmosphere, it's worth looking up. But we use an app called Company Cam on every site we take pictures, and Company Cam uploads those pictures into our system for our reference, but they're stored in the cloud, so Real Work gets access to that, and they will go pull media and make Google posts and stuff like that. And I have slacked off the last month and haven't been keeping up on the photo. Yeah, my guys are taking them, but I have to decide which ones can be public and private. That way they know what they can pull from. And I haven't been doing that. So for a month, those posts haven't been going out. But for the month before that they were doing that, and it was like 3 times a week they would put stuff out, the traffic across my Google page was, 10, 20, 30 times as high as it's ever been. So there's a lot of value in that, and I do think that having a day or working that into a role in your company, I think has as much value as a lot of this stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff you can automate anymore. I mean, my bookkeeping is all done online now. All of my accounts sync in, and they label transactions, and I can go in and change them, or if they're not sure what transaction is. But that minimalized bookkeeping a large amount. You can even do call services where they answer your calls and schedule and stuff. But a lot of those tasks you can almost automate these days. But I feel like the social media role is something that would benefit a lot of companies because that's something that you can't automate because it has to have a personal touch for it to connect with people. And
Yeah.
I think you do a really good job of that. But I think that's one of the things that I see in your business that I try to work into mine, I guess, as we go. But but yeah. So on the social media thing, you when you started with your pages, did you have personal pages? Is that where you started, or did you start with your business page and kind of side by side, or was it start a personal and go and then make your business?
I had a personal one for a while first, but whenever I started my businesses, I made specific pages for the business. It's best to start from the ground up when it comes to social media for your business um, because you want the growth, like I was saying earlier, the people, like the consistency, the people who are starting to follow you, they're following you from the ground up as well, which means they're like gonna be ride or die customers, people who are gonna be there in your pocket for a long time. So I don't really like when people build because I've seen this happen a lot where people will have their own personal social medias that have like say 5,000 followers, and then they archive all their photos or delete all their photos and then change it to their business, right? So they already have all these 5,000 followers and then they change it to their business. Well, all those followers don't care about your business. They cared about the person who ran this social media, right? So I always say as soon as you decide on a business or you make an LLC or whatever kind of business you have, I would start right at the beginning with all your social medias. So make like a TikTok and an Instagram and a Facebook page for your business specifically, and not just do it off of your like personal solo stuff.
Right.
And it keeps it separate.
Yeah.
Keeps work and life separate.
Yeah. And it's important to get that break between work and life. And I'm getting to where I'm better about uh, making sure that I have time for both. But I spend a lot of time at work. But I feel like you're one of those people to where you have a pretty good balance. Like you will work flowers 20 hours straight or 24 hours straight to get ready for a big event to make sure that you're making all of the things and it turns out how you want. And then you'll take a day or two or three and go to a festival or whatever and get that personal break. How I guess how hard is that to manage? Because I know for me, like keeping on top of things and keeping myself going. If I'm not an everyday in the trenches type, I can get to where my work performance will slack, and as I get back to it, I'll take shorter days, or I won't be as motivated. And how did you find yourself working into that? I guess. And
that's really hard. Is like as a business owner, you want to have your hands on everything. You want to because you want it to go the way that you want it to go, right? So it's really hard not. It's really hard to pull yourself out of constantly being in the business mindset, especially if you own the business or if it's your business. Um, but like you said, flowers are a perishable item. So whenever I do major events, I only have like a small window of time to do them. So when I know I'm gonna have like a huge thing, like we'll say Valentine's Day, right? Valentine's Day runs about a week long, and it's constant, consistent work. It's like from 5 a.m. to midnight or later every single day during the Valentine's Day fiasco, right? And after that, I know that it is not going to be healthy for myself or my staff if, like, say Valentine's Day falls on a Monday and we still work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like, we just worked 12 plus hours every day for a week, you know? So I think it's one of those things where you have to prioritize rest, and that's something that I had to tell myself all the time because I don't ever sit down. I don't ever get any rest ever. So I have to prioritize taking a break. So I schedule out days that I know I need a break. Like I know, like holiday seasons when I need to be off, and like when I have the store closed, or like I let the staff have off days or whatever, anything like that. Um, I schedule those earlier in the year, so I kind of know for the major holidays, major events, I know what days we're going to get rest for. And then now, with the studio, it's a little different, but I feel like you just have to prioritize taking a break because you will get burnout, and then you won't make a good product. You won't be sociable in your business. You'll be a grumpy and angry person, and that's just going to negatively affect your sales. So, and you have to like just think about you sometimes, you know. And I feel the same way about like payment in business. Like you have to pay yourself, even if it's like $10 or something. You know, like you have to pay yourself. Just get yourself over that hump. Like you. I know you want to give back to your business, but just like you need to take a rest, you need to give yourself at least something. You know?
Yeah, that's the first few years in my business. I was like, I'll just pay myself when I really need money for my personal stuff, and the rest can flow back into the business. And then I was 3 or 4 years in, and I was like, I never pay myself. That's a change I've made the last couple of years, and I'll vary the amounts,
Yeah.
especially in the fall and spring. I'll get paid a quarter or a half or whatever I do during our busy season, but I have to make sure that there's that weekly thing. That way I know that, hey, we're producing something. I mean, we all like to provide a service and do a job for people, but at the end of the day, you have to be in business to make money, or you'll never keep the business going. Because at some point, if you're getting by on the bare minimum and never paying yourself, your personal life will hit a crisis, and if your business is in a crisis at the same time, it's really hard to.
So hard.
Really
Been
hard
there.
to balance.
Been there.
So, yeah. No, I felt like the grumpy comment was like a personal attack there for a minute. But
if y'all don't know AC, he's terminally grumpy, but he's getting better. he's getting better. Look, he's like smiling now.
I've made great strides the last year or two.
He has. And you know why? Because you've been prioritizing your off time and you've been paying yourself. Look at that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I really feel like the business networking thing this spring was really beneficial for me. That's why this podcast really. But when I got there, because I've never been a social person my entire life. I've just never been that guy to want to be at the center of attention or be out meeting new people really. And I've always done really well at business and been able to on one-on-one conversations. But as you try to scale and grow, you need to be able to reach more people and be more comfortable in other things. And the Master Networks was the group that I went to in Weatherford. And as we mention these things, just know nobody is sponsoring the show. If you feel like it, feel free to hit me up. I would take sponsors. But Master Networks, I feel like if you have one in your area, the one that we have is in Weatherford, which is a 45-minute drive for us, and it's something I still stop in when I have time, but it's far enough where I can't make it every week. But this spring, when we were slower, I was going every week, and being in that room with other people who are working at their business and a lot of different personalities. Chad that was on last week, he's a majorly big personality and just always going guy. And then
it's a room full of like-minded people.
Yeah,
People who want to grow their business and want to make connections and relationships.
and I saw what all these different personalities, myself included, being able to get each other excited and like walking out of that room after one of those meetings and talking to everyone, like you're energized for the week. And I was like, this is something I've been missing. So I went back to that every week. And I found over the spring, I feel like my ability to be comfortable socially and do some of this stuff grew exponentially just because I was dealing with all these different personalities and different people. And there's probably a lot of business, maybe there's not a lot of them, but I'm sure there's other business owners out there that's your social stuff has never been your thing, your skills are your thing. Um, I encourage you to look up groups like that and get into a room, get comfortable with people because once you get over that hump, it makes business a lot easier. I would picture you as always being a social person, though. Like,
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
would
you
definitely say I'm a social person.
yeah,
For sure.
you're always like a ray of sunshine in every group. It doesn't matter music or just out with friends or doing your business stuff. You're just always a fun, bubbly person.
I did an event last night, and I did make an entire room of people do an Appalachian holler. So I feel like that's very powerful.
An Appalachian
You know, like
holler.
woohoo! You know, I forced people who did not know me to all sing that together. So and like at a random event that like was not my own. So I feel like I have a good social power, you know?
Right.
I don't know how I did that, but they did it, so and it was a good time.
No. So when you were growing up, were you that kid? Were you like Weston, to where you were always trying to be at the center and making fun of everyone and keeping everyone laughing?
I was not a class clown, but I was definitely dramatic. So like one of my earliest memories of being like dramatic or I don't know, just I don't know, crazy. I don't know the word to describe it, but one of the earliest memories I have is kindergarten, and we had like a counting test, and people like your teachers like count to 100 or whatever, and easy, right? I got 100. I could go to 5,000 if you want me to, but my teacher stopped me at 100, and the girl right after me like went to like 120, and she just kept going. And I was like, I can count higher than that. Like, look at me go. And I'll never forget that. I don't know why. Like, that's one of the first memories where I'm like, no, I can do this. Like, let me do it. And I don't think that it's like, I don't know. I feel like social people just have that I can do or I will do attitude, you know? And I think that's what I have is that I can do that. Like, I can definitely, and that's why I have like 17 businesses because I'm like, oh, I can do that. Like, yeah. I could definitely do that. Which is a problem. That's where I have to prioritize chilling out, you know?
Well, it can be, but it also, especially when so it wouldn't seem like the music and the flower thing has that much in common, but it's really a creative thing. I didn't understand that about the flower thing until I got to know you because what you do with your designs and everything, it really is just artwork. And I see how a lot of that works together, but like with my stuff, like I'm doing the podcast and I'm studying building stuff and I'm doing my AC stuff and people all the time are, you need to like limit yourself and do more fun stuff and all of this. And I guess my feeling on that is like the people, most of the people who tell you that you need to have less going on or do less at work, whatever, they typically don't have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
If you're wanting to build a successful business, you need a variety of skills, and I feel like you kind of have to dip your toes in different places
That's true.
To build, because you can't. Honestly, when I was thinking about starting my business, I was like, I am a really good technician, and I'm smart enough with numbers, like I can do the math stuff. I was like, that's enough to build a good business. And then you learn accounting, and then you learn marketing, and then you learn you just and 6 years down the road, I'm still a really good technician if I have to go do it, but I'm becoming a better salesman and marketer and all of these other things. And you really have to round out a lot of skills for the business to work, because being really good at one thing is not enough to keep everything moving.
Agreed. And like I often have an internal battle with myself about that specific thing because like
I
thumbtacks.
saw that happening, but I
Thumbtacks.
couldn't make myself reach up and.
And
Anyway,
fix it.
we're gonna just pretend.
But I have a constant battle with myself about like I hate, and I mean vehemently hate doing emails. I truly, the worst thing, I would rather do 100 dishes than answer 5 emails. But that's a part of my business, and I have to do it. But I'm constantly battling with myself. Like, do I just want to be a floral designer and just design somewhere that I know like will appreciate my specific skill sets? But then I'm like, no, because I still want to like market things my way. I still want to talk about things the way that I want to talk about it and stuff. And I see that pretty often with my business is all the different hats that I wear coming together to make this one thing successful. So I agree. I think you do have to have your hand in several pots,
Yeah.
to make things work. Because you could have milk, but why have milk when you can have hot chocolate
Right.
with marshmallows and chocolate and cinnamon in it? Like, where's your chocolate and cinnamon and your marshmallows?
See, I I actually, that was one thing I wanted to get to, and this I think is a good segue into that. So, like, my business is a service business, and while while you can live without AC, living without AC in Texas is a very
Difficult
it's
and dangerous.
difficult option that a lot of people don't take. So it's more of a necessity based business, whereas like the floral thing is really is really a luxury, or not. It's a choice type business, And do you? I guess I don't know. I would assume that you've been around long enough. Do you see a lot of differences in how you have to push your business, or work with people and meet people and bring people to your business versus somewhere where there's a need,
Necessity, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. The thing that people who don't want to buy flowers say, the number one thing that people say when they don't want to buy flowers is, why would I buy this thing that's going to die? Like, why would I buy flowers for my wife when they're just going to die? What's the point of that? And the point of that is not about the flowers. It's about the thought. It's about the experience. It's about the going out of your way to do something nice for someone. So I had to change the way I market my service, because like I have a service, like I'm making you something, I'm delivering something to you, I'm giving you something. So the way I had to market my services, it's not a necessity. Like, this isn't something that you need to live, right? Like, in Texas, you need the AC to live, like, well, But you don't need flowers, so you market it as the thought, the experience, which is what it is. Like, people get flowers for their loved one's birthdays that say, like, this is a thoughtful gesture. People get flowers when someone passes away to say, like, I'm thinking of you and your family and stuff. And although they're a fleeting thing, that memory or that experience or knowing that you got these flowers this day will last you forever. So, like, whenever you're 60 years old, you could say, the first flowers I ever got from, like, the first serious boyfriend I ever had was from PinaTaylotta Petals, and there was this big brain-looking flower in the front and these pods sticking out of it, and they were crazy. And, like, you will tell that to your grandkids, the first flowers you got, or the coolest flower you got, or whatever,
And anyone that doesn't think that that it will bring real emotions to people should watch Taylor bring in her newest order of flowers. She'll have hundreds of flowers, and she'll be so excited and so happy, and she'll come across one that looks different or whatever, and she will just like so excited. and I knew, every guy knows that women like flowers and stuff like that, but the amount of joy that I see it brings you to sort through all of these flowers, I'm like, so that's why it's important to have, like, it is a real, it's not just a, oh, that's cool, like it honestly just brings joy.
It's because it's like, how did this thing grow out of the ground? Like, look at this beautiful thing that just came out of the ground somewhere, and some like came out of the ground in Holland, or it came out of the ground in like Mexico, like Mexican roses. You know, like where did this thing come from, and how is it made, and why does it look so pretty, and like the intricacies of flowers, like every single flower on earth is different. So whenever you get something cool, or like fluffy, or veined, or weird, you know, like it comes into the store. But that's one of the first things people see, like when people come and look at the way I display my flowers market style. So I will always have all the vases out with all the types of flowers so that you can physically go through and pick yourself like what you like. And like that's important because people will go and be like, "This is the prettiest flower in here," right? Like people's face will light up because they're like, "Wow, like, this is the best one." So that's an experience. Like that's another marketing tactic of me. I could be like regular mom and pop flower shops in this area where they put all their flowers in a cooler in the back and you never see them. You just like tell them what you want. But I'm selling an experience. Like you get to see this. You get to choose it yourself, and it's so fun and pretty and nice. And you get to like see the magic of the flower. So it's definitely a feeling, an experience.
Yeah, no, that's I I I like I said,
Yeah, you just
I
got me
just
all hyped up.
I don't get as hyped up. Like I get hyped up about like the completion of a project, or I put something together and I see what it is when I get done building it. But I just love watching people be excited about stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a Christmas person. Like, oh, I put up a tree and stuff for Weston,
He was
but
not going to
I
put up a tree this year. Actually, he was
but
not going to.
but I'm just like, I don't get excited about Christmas, but I absolutely love seeing people who get excited about Christmas get excited about Christmas, and if I'm friends with someone or we're doing an event and I know that they're excited about Christmas, I will go through and do decorations and stuff just to see them get excited. But I don't get it at the same time. I'm like, it's just not my thing. And yeah, watching you with your flowers is one of those things. And when you had the retail shop, there would be ladies from town that walked in that they just come by your shop to see what's new and see the stuff, and that is kind of a cool business. It's
I definitely
entirely
built.
different than like what I do with it's just a thing that you're fixing.
True. I was gonna say I have built a community of regulars who will like come in and be like, "What's new in store this week?" Right? Like, what are the cool flowers that you have this week? Or people want to see. I used to do, and I should get back at doing this. Look, this is the content thing that we have to do. But when do I have the time to do it? But we
Right.
used to do these videos, the like plant of the week, or like plant facts, and they were truly atrocious. They were like comedic skits that were just ridiculous. But people would get, when I stopped doing that, people would be mad and be like, "What's the plant of the week? Like, we need to know what's going on." And I don't know. I just feel like that's like one of those like ever revolving things. But like with your business, you are using the same, I guess, components and stuff in different things. But you could do something like that.
See,
You could be like,
I've thought
component of the week. This is this, and this is what it does.
I've thought about this doing story of the week because
Yeah.
we go to a lot of different people's houses, and you experience a lot of different things, from personalities to things in the house to just funny situations. I think my favorite one is this is probably 14, 15 years ago, but I'll go to this house and it's an old lady and her sister that live together, and they both have to be 90. Like they are old. But they're fun, bubbly personalities, and they're just constantly bickering at one another. We always did their maintenance. And so I've been there 3 or 4 times, and I go there for a service call. They said their AC's not working properly. So I go in, and they had a slide-type thermostat. So I go to slide it down to make it come on. First thing you do is try to make it come on and see what happens. And when I reached up there, she's like, "Don't do that. If you do that, it gets cold in here." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And she's like, "Yeah, if you move it down, it gets cold in here. But it's warm where it's at." And I was like, "Well, that's how the thermostat." And I tried talking it through with her. She wasn't getting it. So I was like, "Well, how about we put one on to where you can see a number?" And she's like, "Yeah." And probably the exact same temperature setting, but the fact that she could see the number, the AC was fixed. And I love, but we run into, like, if we wanted to do a story of the week, we could do a story of the week and never run out of them. And I've contemplated that, but it, like you said, it's the want to be consistent with it, and we have to find the time block. So I've never done it, but I, I don't know that I would tune in for plant of the week. But I can see.
It is hilarious.
I can see a lot.
I'll have to show you the old ones. They're so funny.
That's the different personalities that hit different things. But I was just, I've always kind of wanted to ask that question because it really is, it's an entirely different, like you're both businesses, you're both selling services, but the difference between like a necessity service
like your customers are like mad because they're like, my AC is out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I need you to fix this now, and you have to have like some serious professionalism to deal with some angry people.
Deal with some angry people, and then they're happy when you can tell them you can fix it. But then about 50% of the time when they hear how much it is, then you get the angry again. But by the end of the night, usually you get a thank you text or something. You know, they appreciate it. But
that's another thing. So with a luxury service is cost. Like people, you have to explain to people why. Like yes, you're buying something that's going to die in 2 weeks, and yes, it's expensive, but this is why.
Yeah.
Right? So
I feel like, especially in today's economy, that's becoming something everywhere. I feel like we're all having to justify our costs of services and the cost of doing business, but I guess I don't know in the flower realm, but just my day-to-day cost of operation on basic stuff from insurance to vehicle insurance to all of these small things, it just keeps going up, and as we have to charge more to be able to make money to stay in business, that's a constant conversation. And I feel like every business I talk to, they're fighting, because it's hard as a business owner to not feel guilty about your pricing, because even if you know that you have a $150 item you're only making $10 on, you know that, and at the same time, you know to the customer that sounds like a high price on it or whatever, and it can be a really difficult thing setting prices. And I feel like in today's day, everyone's day-to-day life is so much more expensive, from groceries to healthcare to all of this stuff, to where it really makes spending money on all of these services more difficult, and because of that, we end up in that conversation more. I don't know that there's a good fix to it or a good way to approach it. I've gotten to where I used to really get into that conversation deep and be like, well, this is what I'm thinking. And
I think the best way to mitigate argument from a customer about it or anything like that is to give people options. They want to feel, the customer wants to feel like they're having the last say and that they're getting the best bang for their buck, and that's with any product. So if you know something's going to be expensive, what I do is I give people like sections, options, right? So like this is my smallest option, my cheapest option. This is what you'll get. This is the average that most people spend, buy, do, and then this is like our big time hitters, you know. And like I feel like in your business, right? Um, you can do um, things
We
sort of
do.
similar to that, where you could be like, I can do this kind of unit, or I can do this kind of unit. This one is more
I
cost
think
effective, but this one will run you better. You know,
I
give them
have a
choice.
approach, I guess, based. Chris Voss has a book called Never Split the Difference, and then he also has one called Beacons of Leadership that is really good. But Chris Voss was a FBI negotiator that redesigned how the FBI and police negotiate with people. And there was a business guy from one of the Ivy League schools that approached him and said, "Hey, have you ever thought of applying this stuff to business? Because a lot of the way that we've been teaching people to negotiate sales over the years are outdated, and we feel like this would apply." And so he went and left left his job negotiating, went worked with them, and developed his group's called the Black Swan Group, but they do business leadership. But the negotiation thing is really interesting. But the one of the main things is a lot of the time you have to help people identify what's important to them
Yeah,
before you get to the cost. That way, so basically, he believes in as much as asking questions. Um, say so. It sounds like for me a lot of the time, it's like, well, we have to replace this AC. Do you have ideas on what you want? And if the first thing they bring up is the electricity bill, and then they talk about the old one being noisy, um, it feels like statements. So it feels like efficiency is really important to you. The noise of the
yeah,
unit's really important to you. And then you build them the system that addresses all of their needs and give them a price. And if they don't like that price, then you can. That's another thing I
so
love
sorry,
about
everyone.
Taylor. She's like, when she
Sorry.
sneezes, it's a consecutive like 5 or 6, and not just one.
Yeah, he has
But
OCD, so he appreciates my sneezing in cadence.
I'm not OCD. but uh, but anyways, and then if they don't like the price, then you can be like, well, we can go less efficient, or we can go less noise. And it really puts into perspective for them whether the cost is the biggest issue
Yeah,
or the things that they want being the biggest issue. And I had never thought about that. He's like, it's not that they really want to be arguing with you about cost. It's because they feel like in that moment that the cost is the most important thing. It's like if you go through this conversation in a specific matter before you get to your product, then they already have in their mind what the most important things about the system are.
I guess
So
I have
they
already
can
done that
they
also.
yeah they can make a more informed. So you're giving them options, but you're giving them an option tailored to them, and it's allowed them to reorganize
Yeah,
their thinking so that the pressure of the cost isn't the first thing on their mind. And oftentimes, I find that people will people will give on different parts of what they originally said they wanted to get to the cost that works for them, but they'll be much happier moving to that
yeah,
cost
yeah,
because if you just give them an expensive option and then a cheaper option, then it feels like you're you're picking on them for their
yeah.
financial state. And but that was a really game changer. Chris Voss has a master class series that's really good about how to talk to people and have a good conversation. That's one of those things as business owners. If you're new to business or growing business, read all you can.
Oh
Go
yeah,
watch what you can. There's so many
yeah,
good resources out there. YouTube videos, books. There's so much out there to learn. And when you come across something like that, buy the book, stash it on your shelf, and share it with people because a lot of the time It's hard as a business owner when people ask you how business is going. You want to be great. We're doing
Yeah.
great. And it's really hard to say, well, it's going good, but I'm struggling with my sales
Yeah.
or I'm struggling with my marketing. So if you're a business owner and something works well for you, I really feel like you should be
Share it.
out there
Which
and be.
is so crazy because I just had a dinner. So I did an event, a wedding event. Um, we got published in a national magazine, and we just had a big, like the magazine issue release party in Fort Worth. And so
Boy, you're really stepping down with this podcast.
the venue, the venue, like employees and stuff, and myself, and like for our style shoot that got published, like our team, we all went to dinner afterwards, and all four of us like own different businesses. So we were talking, they were asking me questions, and I was the youngest at the table, but I was like I guess the only person they'd seen in a while who was willing to share information. And so while they were asking me questions and saying things, and I was talking to them, and then at the end of the dinner, they were like, "Thanks, like that was a lot of information, and that was like important things that I've never thought about doing and stuff." And it baffles me that people don't want to share the key to success because it's like it's not going to hinder your success, you know? Like these are people in totally different industries or like something else, you know.
Even
like,
within your own industry,
agreed.
With yours, it might be a little different because you are.
I can give you.
You're
the
a
tools.
specific thing, whereas like my thing, like there's so many air conditioners are gonna break down in a year, and there's a shortage of AC people. So like there's going to be work, but I have relationships with a lot of the contractors in this area, and I had I came across something with my business earlier this year to where I built a way to build my prices that is more effective for me than anything I've done, and at the same time is tracking the cost, so keeping it as cheap as possible for the customer at the same time. And I built this huge, massive Excel program to do it, and I called a couple of other AC contractors in the area, and I'm like, hey, this is something that I didn't realize I was losing money on this, or I was overcharging for this. I was like, tell me what you think of it. If you think of anything I don't have on there, let me know. And they're like, you're going to send it to me? Well, I don't care. Like, like if price is the only reason somebody's using me, then maybe I need to adjust how I'm handling my business. And I just find that I feel like the social age and you're a generation behind me almost, but like as business owners get younger, I feel like we're better about being able to communicate with one another. But I do feel like there's so much there's a wealth of knowledge out there that'll never be passed on because everyone's worried about everyone else succeeding. It's like, why wouldn't I want everyone to succeed?
Yeah, like I can give you the tools. I can even tell you where I get my flowers from, but you're not going to make the same thing that I'm going to make. We're not going to do the same thing I'm going to do. I want you to be successful in the things that you do, and I will be successful in the things that I do. But that doesn't mean I don't have to tell you how to get there. Like that's
and there's such a large percentage of people that'll never act on it too. So the way I see it is like I'm sharing information, and maybe 9 out of 10 people either disregard it because they don't feel it's important, or they don't want to go through the work to do it, or whatever. But that one person that needed that to bring them to a next level is going to change that life. And who cares about the other 9 people that couldn't use it, And that's Janine over in Weatherford has a great saying. She says the world belongs to those who show up, and that's the biggest thing when I'm sharing information. I'm like, I can give you all the information, everything I've learned, and none of it means anything if you don't show up to use it.
Well, I've always said the difference between a business owner and someone who doesn't own a business is the business owner just did it.
Yeah.
Like, literally the only thing you can do is just do it. You can talk about doing something all day until the day you decide just do it, and then look, then you have it, and other people don't.
You either have it in your head that it's not a choice. You have to show up.
Yeah.
There are so many days as a business owner that you wake up and you're like, what am I doing? This is so much stress and so much riding on me, and I wish I could just be an employee and just go to work and not worry about all of this.
That's exactly what I mean, besides being a floral designer and emailer.
Yeah, and it's just like, you just have to do it. You just have to show up.
Yeah.
Well, we are actually at an hour already. So,
yappers. We're a couple yappers.
Yeah. No, I actually, after doing the one with Chad last week, I was like, maybe I ought to look at doing this longer. I'm gonna have to find a way to section more time. But I feel like an hour is you're hitting the stride of the conversation. But for today, Weston has a birthday party I have to get him to here shortly, and then I'll be back to do the AC podcast. So I'm gonna have to cut it at an hour. So go through one more time who you are, where people can find you at, all of that fun stuff.
My name is Taylor, and I'm the owner of PinaTaylotta Petals and Petals Music. And you can find us at PinaTaylottaPetals.com, on Instagram at PinaTaylotta Petals, or at Petals Music. And you can find us on Facebook under PinaTaylotta Petals or Petals Music. And then you can find us in Bluffdale, Texas. Also, I haven't released the studio address yet because it's almost done in construction, but when it's done, I will post about it, where we're located. But we are in Bluffdale. And you can shoot us over an email, a direct message, and once the studio's done, our phone lines will be back up. So.
All right. Well, this is Wacy, Brazos River Air Conditioning, giving you the Texas Small Business Podcast, your source for knowing a guy.